Jason returned to Port Charles. However, he had completely lost his memory. General Hospital spoilers, creative story. The fog rolled over the docks of Port Charles just before dawn. A lone fishing boat drifted toward Pier 55, battered by weeks at sea. The old captain steering it looked exhausted, his hands trembling as he tied the vessel to the dock. Behind him, lying unconscious beneath a tattered blanket, was a man no one expected to see alive. "Hey!" the captain shouted toward the harbor office. "Call an ambulance. This guy's been in and out for days." As paramedics rushed aboard, one of them suddenly froze. "Oh my God," she whispered. The man's face was bruised and scarred, but unmistakable. It was Jason Morgan. News of Jason's return spread through Port Charles faster than wildfire. At General Hospital, Carly Spencer was pouring coffee in the Metro Court office when her phone rang. "What is it?" she asked impatiently. The voice on the other end made her drop the mug. "Carly, you need to get to GH immediately. It's Jason." For several seconds, Carly couldn't breathe. "Jason," she whispered. "Jason's dead." Apparently not. 10 minutes later, Carly burst through the hospital doors. "What happened? Where is he?" She found Sonny Corinthos, Dante Falconeri, and Anna Devane already gathered outside an examination room. Sonny looked shaken. "He was found on a fishing boat just outside the harbor." Carly stared through the glass window. Jason lay motionless in the hospital bed. Alive. After months of believing he died during a violent explosion overseas, Jason Morgan had somehow found his way home. Tears streamed down Carly's face. "Jason," she whispered. Sonny placed a hand on her shoulder. "He's back." But neither of them knew the nightmare had only just begun. Inside the room, Dr. Elizabeth Baldwin reviewed Jason's scans alongside Dr. Portia Robinson. "The physical injuries are healing," Portia explained, "but there's extensive trauma to the temporal lobe." Elizabeth frowned. "What does that mean?" Portia sighed. "It means memory loss, severe memory loss." At that exact moment, Jason's eyes slowly opened. Elizabeth immediately approached. "Jason, can you hear me?" Jason looked around the room in confusion. "Where am I?" "You're at General Hospital. You're safe." Jason's expression remained blank. "Who are you?" Elizabeth froze. "It's me, Elizabeth." Jason simply stared. "I'm sorry. Should I know you?" Outside the room, Carly's heart sank. Hours later, the entire family gathered. Sonny entered first. "It's good to see you, brother." Jason studied him. "You know me?" Sonny smiled sadly. "Yeah, a long time." Jason shook his head. "I'm sorry. I don't remember you." Sonny's face fell. Next came Carly. The moment she stepped inside, everyone expected some emotional reunion. Instead, Jason asked the same devastating question. "Who are you?" Carly looked as though she'd been punched. "It's Carly, your best friend." Jason stared blankly. "I'm sorry." Those two words shattered her. Over the next several days, specialists confirmed the impossible. Jason Morgan remembered nothing. Not Sonny, not Carly, not Michael, not Danny, not Jake. Nothing. The last thing Jason could remember was waking up alone on a beach with no identification, no memories, and no idea who he was. He had spent months drifting from town to town, working odd jobs under the name Jake Doe, the only name someone had given him. Eventually, he'd been injured during a storm and rescued by fishermen. No one could explain what had happened before that. Anna immediately suspected foul play. "Jason doesn't just disappear and lose his memory," Anna told Sonny privately. "Someone did this to him." Sonny agreed, and both feared exactly who might be responsible. Jen Sidwell. Meanwhile, Jason struggled to adapt. Everything around him felt wrong. People approached him with tears in their eyes. They told stories about his life, his children, his friendships, his sacrifices. Yet none of it felt real. One afternoon, Danny Morgan cautiously entered Jason's room. "Dad?" Jason looked up. The boy resembled someone familiar, though he couldn't understand why. Danny stepped closer. Mom said maybe talking would help you remember. Jason smiled gently. You're Danny? Danny nodded. I'm your son. Jason felt a strange ache in his chest. I'm sorry, he whispered. I wish I remembered. Danny fought back tears. Everyone keeps saying eventually you will. Jason looked away. What if I don't? Danny had no answer. The hardest encounter came when Jake Weber arrived. Jake carried a photo album. Without speaking, he placed it on the bed. Jason opened it slowly. Pictures, birthdays, Christmas mornings, family vacations. There was one photograph of Jason teaching Jake to ride a motorcycle. Another showed them fishing. A third captured Jason hugging both boys. Jason stared at the images for several minutes. Nothing. No memories, no flashes, only emptiness. I'm sorry, Jason said quietly. Jake nodded sadly. I know. Then he walked out. For the first time since awakening, Jason cried. Weeks passed. The entire town rallied around him. Yet Jason increasingly felt like a stranger living someone else's life. One evening, he disappeared from the hospital. Panic erupted. Sonny mobilized every available guard. Damn it, find him. Carly feared the worst. But Jason wasn't kidnapped. He had simply gone to the bridge overlooking the harbor. Alone. Elizabeth eventually found him there. Everyone's worried. Jason never looked away from the water. I don't belong here. You do. No, Jason insisted. You all remember me. I don't remember any of you. Elizabeth sat beside him. You don't have to remember everything overnight. Jason sighed. What if the man everyone loved doesn't exist anymore? Elizabeth smiled softly. Then we'll get to know the man you are now. For the first time, Jason felt comfort. Elsewhere, Anna and Dante uncovered disturbing information. Several months earlier, an unidentified patient had been admitted to a private medical facility in Eastern Europe. The patient matched Jason's description. Even more alarming, records showed repeated neurological procedures, memory manipulation. Anna's blood ran cold. Someone intentionally erased Jason's memories. Dante immediately asked the obvious question. Who? Anna already knew. Sidwell. Sonny was furious. If Sidwell did this, Anna interrupted, we need proof. But Sonny wasn't interested in proof. He wanted revenge. Unbeknownst to everyone, Jason overheard the conversation. That night, he confronted Sonny. Who is Sidwell? Sonny hesitated. An enemy. Did he do this to me? We think so. Jason absorbed the information quietly. Then why can't I remember being angry? Sonny stared at him. Because he stole that from you, too. Days later, strange things began happening. Jason experienced sudden flashes. A motorcycle, gunfire, a warehouse explosion, a woman crying. Each memory vanished almost instantly. The episodes intensified. One afternoon, while visiting the Metro Court, Jason suddenly collapsed. Visions flooded his mind. Sonny, Carly, Michael as a child, stone cold, the mob, blood, violence, death. Jason awoke screaming, "Get away from me!" Everyone was stunned. Jason stared at Sonny with horror. You killed people. The room fell silent. Sonny said nothing. Jason backed away. So did I. Unable to process what he'd learned, Jason left Port Charles. Again. This time willingly. He drove for hours, desperate to escape the memories slowly resurfacing. Elizabeth found the note he left behind. I need to discover who I really am without everyone telling me who I used to be. The family was devastated. But Anna understood. Jason has to choose his own path. Months later, during a stormy evening, a mysterious figure walked into Kelly's. Carly looked up. Her heart stopped. Jason stood in the doorway, different, calmer, certain. He approached her. Carly. Tears filled her eyes. You remember? Jason nodded. Most of it. Everything? He shook his head. Not everything. Maybe I never will. Carly embraced him. We'll take whatever we can get. One by one, Jason reunited with everyone. Sunny, Danny, Jake, Michael, even Elizabeth. Though gaps remained, the emotional connections had returned. Jason remembered what mattered most: love, family, friendship, loyalty. But there was one thing he remembered perfectly. Sidwell, and the man responsible for stealing months of his life, had made one fatal mistake. He had allowed Jason Morgan to survive. As Jason stood on the dock staring into the darkness, Sunny joined him. "You sure you're ready?" Jason's eyes hardened. "No." He paused. "But Sidwell is going to wish I'd never remembered anything at all." Sunny smiled knowingly. "Welcome home, brother." Jason looked out across Port Charles. Home. At last, the word finally meant something again. But in true Port Charles fashion, peace would not last, because hidden in the shadows, an unknown figure watched Jason's reunion. The figure picked up a phone. "He's remembering," the voice said. A chilling response came from the other end. "Then activate Phase 2. The line went dead, and Jason Morgan's greatest battle was only beginning.